Hey, this is Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus AEW Dark Elevation, Episode 9. Last week's I thought was the least effective one that they've had yet. This week, what can I say? A return to form in a big bad way. A number of great promos, a couple of actually set up angles in the course of the show itself. Paul White talking to Danny Limelight. I just thought it was an incredibly effective show. It was a show that had 4, I guess what you could call competitive matches, which again, I think it's great, and it's the reason Elevation tends to do a little better than Dark, or a lot better in many cases. It is definitely a return to form. Great to see. A very long show and a lot of matches, so let's just jump into it. Again, I usually pick a performer or two out of the enhancement people that wrestle, and I always assign every match a 3-check system. If it is a competitive match, and I'll let you know when it is, you get the 3 check marks for the following things. You get a check mark if both participants look great. You get a second check mark if the person who wins is put over in a definitive fashion, and a third check mark if something feels like it is advanced or encouraged, whether it is a new move, a sort of a nuance to a character or a gimmick, or even a feud that can be advanced and settled on another episode at Elevation or on Dynamite even. For the non-competitive matches, which comprise most of the matches on Elevation and almost all of the matches on Dark, 3-check system is still the same. If somebody is put over in a definitive fashion, that's a 1 check mark. A second check mark if that person who's winning or the entity that is winning looks great in the process, and a third check mark if the person looks great in defeat or is given a disproportionately large amount of offense. Awesome. First match, David Ali against Lee Johnson, 2 guys that know each other from the WWA 4 school in Atlanta, Georgia. You could tell they've worked together before, at least in some way, shape, or form, because they look really great in the ring together. There's just not a lot of doubt about that. Really impressive showing by David Ali. And, Lee Johnson needs these kind of wins, and so he gets it. Yep. But Ali gets a lot of offense in here. 3 check marks. Lee Johnson hits the kneecap brainbuster for the win. Shivani and Paul White, who are our commentators, who do a really good job. I like them better by and large over Excalibur and Taz on Dark. I know that's maybe not a fair comparison to make, but I'm making it. They hype up the Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing, and they hype up this Wednesday's Dynamite with Jon Moxley and Yuji Nagata. We go to our next match, Eddie Kingston against VSK. Real rough and tumble match with a very strange finish to me. Kingston misses his back fist. VSK hits a backstabber, and then he goes up top and misses the frog splash, and then Kingston rolls him up for the win. It's one of those finishes that I get why they did it. I guess it's Kingston not wanting VSK to look bad by just suffering a finisher. I don't think it really served the match as much as, because the point is we're building up Eddie Kingston for a possible thing against the Bucks or Kenny Omega. I don't know. You just want him to win with something a little more impressive, in my opinion. So I'm not going to give this a 3rd check mark, but I'll give it 1 check mark. I hate to say it, because Eddie Kingston was put over in a definitive fashion and throughout the match, but he didn't really win in impressive style, and the whole point is he's supposed to get this win and look impressive in the process. He more than makes up for it for his promo later on. I'll say that it is one of the best promos that have been cut on one of the YouTube shows, period. I'll say that much for it. Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky against Baron Black and Fuego del Sol. Another good outing. They continue to improve their sort of chemistry and teamwork, meaning Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. And certainly the guys do a good job being there for their stuff and looking good. So this time they seem to trade off how they win. Page winning with the ego's edge on Fuego for the win. and they look good doing it. 3 check marks. AEW Showcase is back. It's a good time to do it, and Paul White's talking about Limelight. Really interesting stuff about his career in the military and how he started training in pro wrestling in 2014 while he was still in the Marines. He talks about his pro wrestling journey, and it's a really great thing. It's not the best one they've ever done, but I really like when Paul White does these. The video packages, I think, have an extra element to them that I think is better. But Danny Limelight comes across really good here. Paul White is getting to be an increasingly good interviewer. Renee Michelle against Thunder Rosa. Again, Thunder Rosa really excels at working with people in matches, and this is no exception. 3 check marks all around. Rosa introducing another wrinkle in her arsenal, which is a choke out, and then she's going to cut a promo later on that sort of addresses the fact that she's doing a different kind of move. And I like that promo as well. It's just, we get the Eddie Kingston promo. It's phenomenal. Go find it. Go watch it. It's fan-fucking-tastic. We got Chuck Taylor here with the gangs all here at ringside for him against Very Morales. Very Morales steals another one. He is often my enhancement talent of the week, and this is no exception. Yeah, he looks really great in there with Chuck Taylor. And then the strange thing about Chuck Taylor being given his gear to wear, his vest and such. But Very Morales really made Chuck Taylor look good. Chuck Taylor made him look good. One of my favorite matches of this, even though it wasn't a competitive match. 3 check marks and a great look for Very Morales. Layla Hirsch against Dani Jordyn. This is the best that Dani Jordyn has looked in defeat. Really good match here. Really makes Layla Hirsch look formidable. Layla Hirsch winning with that cross arm breaker. Dani Jordyn taps out. 3 check marks. Really good look for Dani Jordyn here. The Georgia people represent, and for sure. Dasha Gonzalez is with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and I'm glad they're getting these promos in. They're mocking Darby Allin and Sting. And Page wishes Alan luck if he's able to make his TNT title match against Miro this Wednesday. And they say that they'll be watching. Interesting. Sydal and Smith are jawing at each other for their match. So what we have here is, excuse me, Matt Sydal against Manny Smith. I'm not all that familiar with Manny Smith. It's a relatively quick match, which is unusual. Usually Matt Sydal wrestles these longer matches. It was nice to see him get a kind of a quicker win here. He did slap on some nice submissions, but then he wins with that lightning spiral at the end of the day. Jade Cargill against Reka Tehaka. I love Reka. I just love her. This is the quick match that it should be. Reka gets, it's a typical squash, not squash match, right? Where the person who's going to win in dominant fashion starts off hot. Then they take a little bit of a flurry of offense from the person they're going to beat, but then finishes them off in definitive fashion. That's what this match is. It's short, it's sweet, it doesn't expose Jade Cargill, and she looks great in the process. Reka does a great job here. 3 check marks. Post-match, Mark Sterling, the lawyer, is back, and he offers free advice to Cargill, and he wants 30 minutes of her time, noting that he got MJF a really good deal with AEW. Good stuff here. It's perfectly appropriate for AEW Elevation, in my opinion. We have Mark Quinn of Private Party teaming with Matt Hardy against Dean Alexander and Dillon McQueen, who wrestled the main event of the Nightmare Factory second showcase. And I really like them both, and they both look fucking great here. Just no doubt about it. Hardy wins with the leech, but that's not really the story. The story is McQueen and Alexander really doing good here. Though their whole point is to make Hardy's crew look good, and they most certainly did that. And now it's funny watching Private Party kind of wrestle in these kind of like nicer clothes as opposed to their usual look. But I think it's smart. They're supposed to be heels, and you're going to take away the things that make them definitively cool. I think I see what they're doing here. But a good outing all the way around. Rachel Rose, who's one of my favorite newer enhancement talents, the Queen, the Rose Queen, against Britt Baker. Britt Baker is not messing around and just moshes her, hits a curb stomp for the win. Just brutal fashion, as it should be. Britt Baker's going into a big title match with Hikaru Shida at the pay-per-view, I believe. Tay Conti against Maddie Renkowski. They call this one of the 4 competitive matches. I'm going to say this is not a competitive match. Even before I would see it, Maddie Renkowski generally jobs to almost everybody, and this is no exception. Tay Conti, though, is getting better and better and more confident, and then Didi Tay is fantastic. 3 check marks all around. Now we got a promo with Thunder Rosa that's really good, where Thunder doesn't take away from the Talavera choke, by the way, is the name of the move. She doesn't take away from Britt Baker getting a title match, noting that she deserves it, even though Thunder Rosa beat her in the unsanctioned match. And she says she's going to go after whoever wins at Double or Nothing, and that she's going to try to beat Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's title to try to hold both. Awesome. Impressive. Chaos Project against Jurassic Express. In this case, Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy, not Luchasaurus. This is a good exhibition for this incarnation of the Jurassic Express to look good. Serpentico's a total pro, is good at making people look good. That's why he's there. And this is no exception. Jurassic Express win with this kind of double team neck breaker. Not much to say. It's not a match that you're going to remember for a long time after, but served its purpose. 3 check marks. Britt Baker running that mouth. So good at it. So good at it, right? Baker and Rebel are backstage. She spends more time lacing up her boots than in matches, which is true. She talks about her match with Shida coming up at Double or Nothing. Shida later. Goofy. Love it. Alex Reynolds with a couple of the Dark Order boys at ringside versus Isaiah Cassidy with Mark Quinn and Matt Hardy at ringside. This thing with all of the outside interference and distractions and stuff is a bit of a fucking clusterfuck if I'm being honest. Reynolds ends up rolling up Cassidy for the win. This was not a good look. I would say, does it get a check mark for Alex Reynolds winning do both people look good in this? I would say not, even though the ring work was actually pretty good. I just thought it was just messy. It didn't particularly put anybody over, so I'm giving this no check marks. Brutal, I know, but they really have to just get it together. Silver gets put into a sleeper post-match, and then Hardy locks the leech on Reynolds, and Silver has to watch. So maybe I will give them that 3rd check mark. So I'll give them 1 check mark. Strangely, for the first time this has ever happened, they get a 3rd check mark because it actually advances something that can finish on Dynamite. But the match itself, it didn't work for me at all. And then finally, we get Jon Moxley against Danny Limelight. This is why Moxley is great. I mean, he makes Danny Limelight look really good in this one. His stuff looks snug and good, and it's engaging, and Mox is kind of ripping and tearing at Limelight, showing that he's kind of wrestling in this savage way, even though he's a babyface. Limelight does his best to keep up and then loses to a paradigm shift from the second rope. So Moxley is clearly focused on this idea of him defending his IWGP US title against Yuji Nagata, excuse me. And then they hype that match up that's coming up on Dynamite, and we're out. So pretty good elevation here.